Thank you so much for joining us if you're returning, but also if you're new, we're excited to have you. I can't believe that it's February, that February is almost over, because when we started this series, I was trying to plan for this whole year, and it just feels like this year is going by so fast. So anyway, we're super excited to continue to have this series for this year, and I hope that you found them helpful and insightful. Really, these topics, what we're putting on, really are topics that you've suggested to us, and so thank you for anyone that has provided feedback through our webinar surveys. I will mention that in a little bit here. With that said, today we're covering GEMpos 101, but before we dive into the content, I'd like to just give a little bit of a housekeeping here. We're going to spend about 20 to 25 minutes on content, and then we'll have some time at the end here for some Q&A. We highly encourage questions. That's really, what these webinars are about. So definitely, as we're going through the webinar, use the Q&A feature to submit your questions. We'll do our best to get through all of them. If we're not able to, we'll send a follow-up response. We're also recording all of our webinars, and they are available for on-demand viewing on our website. So if you go to csense.com and under our events page, you'll see all of our past recordings. For anyone that wasn't able to join us today, feel free to share that link with them. We just hope that that becomes a resource for your organization. And then again, in terms of feedback, how are we putting on these topics? It's from your feedback. So please submit your feedback, your thoughts on how this webinar went, as well as future topics. Once I send out a webinar survey, I usually send that out a day or two, if not sooner, after a webinar. So keep an eye for that in your email inbox. And then more importantly, everyone wants to win something, right? So for 2 minutes of your time, your response will be put into a $50 Amazon gift card raffle. I do see some old winners on here, so definitely encourage you to submit that feedback for a chance to win. Now let's dive into a little bit of our agenda here. So what are we talking about today? I'd like to do a couple of quick introductions, because our key speakers today are new to this series. They may not be new to you. If you've called our customer support team before, you may have spoken to one of them, but I'd like for them to do a couple minutes of introductions, and then we'll dive into the GEMpos indicators, or the icons. These are the little icons that you'll see on the home screen of the point of sale. It's important for you to know what that is, so we'd like to spend some time on that. We'll dive into some of the essential functions. What are some of those cashier and manager functions that you see within the system that are good to know? Something to keep in mind is today we're doing a really high level overview, more so a mention of what they are, because I know a lot of times people are scared to break a system, and we just want to give you some reassurance that the system itself has a lot of features and functions, but you can't really break anything, and we're here to help you understand what they are, so that you can go back to your team or the individuals that would benefit from this webinar and let them know these are some of the functions that are important to know. And then we'll end with some support options. What are ways that you can engage our team? And I'd like to just take a couple minutes. I know I apologize for a long intro, but I think it's important to also just highlight that we are your partners for success. We definitely want you to be heard. So a lot of, the feedback that we've received through, surveys are that, you're looking for more product webinars, you're looking for more learning materials, and that's what we're committed to doing this year. Even in our support calls, we're getting about 2 calls a day about some of these point of sale functions, whether, this is a new system for that organization, whether, the organization has a new employee, or whether unfortunately they're experiencing a turnover. These are the calls that we're getting. So this is why we're putting on this webinar for you. And now finally to the introductions for the presenters, so that way you guys don't have to hear me talk all the time. Steve and Justin, would you mind just spending a couple minutes here, just giving a quick introduction of yourself?
Hey everybody, I'll go first. I'm Steven Daniels from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been with Common Sense over 3.5 years. I have a POS support background over 25 years. I've worked on the GEMpos application for many of those years. I have 2 teenage daughters, 13 and 16 years old, a lovely wife, and over 10 pets. A huge sports fan, and when I can get outdoors, I'm an avid landscaper and a rock hunter. Justin?
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. My name is Justin Garrett. I hail from the great state of Texas. I've been with the company for about 3 years, and I've got customer service background. I've got some tech background as well. and I love interacting with people. My hobbies are a 1-year-old daughter, and she keeps me pretty busy. So I mean that's what we're doing these days.
Awesome. Thank you both. So the reason they're speaking is because they're really in the day-to-day activities of handling customer calls. And so I felt it was important to put the experts into this webinar. So I hope you enjoy what they have to share. Let's move on to talking about the sign-in screen. So from here, I'm going to pass it on to Justin to kick us off.
Thank you, pal. I appreciate it. My name is Justin again. This is going to be your sign-in screen. It's going to be a little bit different maybe for some of y'all, but for the most part, it's going to look very, very similar to this right here. These are indicators, and that's just what they are. They're just indicators. They're just for info or for status. You can't really do anything, and you can't really change anything just yet. Whenever we're clicking on these buttons, they're just to show us kind of what they do and give us some info. So the first one there is going to be the GEMpos seal. Whenever you click that GEMpos seal, you will get the version info and the release date. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you'll call in and we'll ask you kind of what version you're in, and what's the latest build number. And that tells you right there. It tells you the build number and when it was installed. Our next indicator is going to be the site controller indicator. This just kind of indicates if you're connected to the site controller or if you're running a standalone station. Gray means that it's connected. Gray is good. Red is dead. Make sure you keep that kind of close to your heart for sure. Red just means that it's been disconnected. If the site controller goes offline, you'll definitely see this big error that comes up. It just means that you're running on a backup. You need to contact support or turn off and turn on the site controller with a reboot. Usually, local IT can usually assist for off-premise site controllers. If the cashiers do get on here and you do see this error message, the only way to get it off is to enter a manager code. And so that is going to be required to continue on the backup. So if you tap on this indicator and you tap on that site controller indicator, you'll know the status and you'll know some things about it. So some of the things that if you call in and you let us know what you need, we'll ask you things on like what node is this on, or what mode is this terminal working on. This tells you, for example, that we're on node 1 and that this mode is on a POS. It tells you what site you're at. It tells you what business day. So we might kind of ask you some of those things. And at the very bottom is going to be probably the most important, is if your primary site controller is running or your secondary site controller is running. Again, this is going to be for the printer indicator. Gray is good, red is dead. So if it's gray, that means it's connected. You can see all the different things about it. Red just means that the printer connection is not good. Either the receipt printer is down or a hosted printer is down. Remote printers can be hosted on local terminals as well as the site controller. If you click on the icon, you can find out which printer is down, especially for those of you who have 2 or more that are connected. The other color that we're going to be focusing on is the yellow, and this is just for the printer. That just means that your paper is going to be low, and usually when it gets low, it'll flash, and you'll need to change out that paper. The next indicator is our cache drawer indicator. If you tap on it, it will bring up drawer assignments and it'll tell you the naming info. So if you call and you say, hey, I've got register 1, it's got a problem, and we can ask you, hey, what's the name on that one? Well, right there on the far right side, you can see it says cache to top and cache to bottom. Those are going to be the names that we assign to those. Red means that it's not checking in, and yellow means that it might be open, or maybe it's a jar, maybe it's stuck open, or something like that. If you click on this one, is the countdown indicator. Whenever you click on this, it will allow the user to click the icon and view or print a list of locked and limited quantities remaining for a countdown item covered later. And we'll definitely get into that lockdown here in a few. So real quick, we're going to talk about two main cashier functions. The first is going to be the checkout. So there's two types. There's a preliminary and a final. Obviously, the preliminary is going to be kind of like something that you would do before that person clocks out for the end of the day. If you want to see where that cashier is at during the middle of the day or in the middle of the morning, you can click on preliminary and it'll throw out all their stats and everything like that. The final checkout is going to be like at the end of the day or end of their shift, and those numbers will be set in stone. Those numbers will be the right ones. Awesome. I'm going to pass this over to Steve.
Hey, everybody. Steve again. Manager functions. Manager functions are on the right side of the main options and are dedicated to manager functions. There are 12 buttons we will review in this manager options section as seen in red. All checks. All checks is where you can view and recall any checks for the day. Click recall check and you can make changes to an open check. The check is closed. It will ask if you would like to reopen the check. Void checks. Void checks will allow you to void an open check. The check is closed and reopen it first, then you can void it. Voiding a check with a credit card payment will require you to void the credit card payment first and then void the check. View check. View check allows you to view a check. You can reprint a credit card voucher or payment by highlighting the payment, then selecting print voucher at the top. Change table. Change table allows a check and table service to be moved to another table. Print check. Print check will allow you to quickly print a check. That's it for all checks. Sales reports. Sales reports allows a manager to view the current sales and also an option to print the report to take with you. Shift management. Shift management lets you close out the cash register sales for the day. Select the employee you wish to close out and hit checkout. You can run a final or preliminary checkout. See Justin's explanation above for cashier settlement. This will tell you the finalized sales for the settled employee for the day. Tips. Tips section allows the cashier to claim the tips made for the day to report on payroll. There are very few quick service customers using this currently. Table service is more of a common user of this function. Clock out. Clock out manager can clock out all employees if they're using a GEMpos time clock. Settle all. Settle all will quickly settle out all employees. This will run the final for all open shifts. And clock out all, I think I misspoke earlier. Clock out all will clock out everyone. Clock out will just clock out the employee that you select. End of day. Click end of day and then select run end of day. Errors. Watch for errors. Click OK to view them. Get the error. Take note of the error and fix it if you know how to, or contact CCS support and report the error. In the example, end of day was attempted to run before a specified time to run and failed from being it ran too soon. 4 p.m. is the default. So if you try to run end of day at 3:59 p.m. or sooner, it would give you that particular error. End of day complete. This is the message you will see when end of day goes through as intended. Acknowledge end of day is complete. Click OK on the completed successfully if you see it. Most locations will auto restart at completion. Restart request. If auto restart is not enabled, you will need to hit restart request to reset the next day. Countdown items. Item countdowns and locks. You can lock POS items by sorting category and subcategory to find the menu items. Select the item you wish to set the lock. The lock pad will show next to the item and it will be grayed out on the POS. To set the countdowns, sort by category and subcategory to find the menu item. Select the item you wish to set the countdown by clicking Limited. Countdown will start at 1 and you can use the arrows to increase and then decrease the number if you need to. In the slide, we chose 10 for the item count. Once that item is ordered, the countdown will begin and change to 9. The number entered in the list on the item will show on the home screen, also that Justin showed earlier. The buttons will also show the amount left when the server is trying to ring them up. They will eventually lock and you cannot ring them up anymore. Training mode. Click training mode and then select the employee who is training. The graduation cap will show next to the employee who is in that mode. Signing in as a trainer. When they sign in, a yellow note is on the check pane screen showing that they are in training mode. Receipt printer. Set up a backup receipt printer on the fly. Node 1 printer is down and is red in the example. We need to change it to printer node 2 for quick backup. Choose printer node 2 in the list. It will highlight. Make the change. Click the select option under default to set the current printer to node 2. You will need to set it back once it comes back online. Assign drawers. You can assign a drawer. So if another cashier signs into that register, the drawer will only open for whoever it is signed into. Store can also have multiple drawers on the same register, keeping the tills assigned to only the cashier signed in. This is a good security measure if you have multiple drawers and multiple employees in the drawers. Assigning the drawers. Select the drawer you wish to assign and then select the user from the list on the right. Then hit the Assign Drawer button in the bottom right. When the drawer is counted and the cashier shift settled, you can reset the drawer and assign it to the next employee. The drawer icon will appear next to the drawer's owner. Application options. Stop POS will stop the GEMpos and exit to the desktop, allowing access to the Windows desktop if you need to get there. Reboot. Reboot restarts the entire register. This could help fix a scale or a printer issue. Shutdown. Shutdown turns entire workstation off. Be careful with this one as manual restart might apply. Good for moving equipment or shutting down for a temporary closing. Refresh. Refresh finishes the kiosk download process and refreshes the application. If GEMpay buttons are grayed out, this would be a good way that you can maybe fix it on your own due to a lost internet connection. It will also complete a download. And that's it.
Perfect. So I'm going to come back on camera here to just highlight some of the support options that our customers have available. As Justin and Steve talked through these functions, you may be interested in a deeper dive. You are welcome to reach out to our team. We're happy to help out where we can. So in terms of how do you engage us? If you're having a technical challenge or issue with your software, definitely reach out to customer support. They are going to be the ones to help troubleshoot any more technical questions. So please send an email because that's the preferred way. It just gives us a paper trail to be able to reference and to understand and look back on. And it's a quicker way for us to get back to you as well. In terms of phone, you're welcome to call us as well. We do our best to get to all the calls that come through. In both cases, if you are contacting us via email or phone, please always ask for and or provide a case number. This is just the best way to provide a quick service for you. And then we also have an online knowledge base. This is if you are wanting to do some additional reading. There are a lot of how-to documents and helpful documents on there as well, related to all of our different products that you can do some reading on and or share with colleagues. With that said, if you are not having a technical issue and or you're just looking for more product information, definitely reach out to your account relationship manager or sales@csense.com, where if you're looking for marketing materials, we can find the right materials for you to share with your organization. If you have general product questions, definitely reach out to your arm and then schedule any recurring meetings if you don't already have those set up to ensure that you have some consistent meetings to talk about your system and to answer any questions in a timely manner. With that said, I'm going to review the questions here and just double check if we have anything that came through. So if you do have any questions about any of the features or functions that we went over, please submit them. I do have a couple questions if Steve or Justin, you want to answer them. When we were talking about the training mode, when you put someone into training mode, how are you able to take them out? What's kind of that process look like?
You would go back into training mode and you would just click on their name and you just turn it off. There's a way to turn it off.
So you just kind of reverse the steps is what it sounds
like?
Yeah,
the exact same steps, just reverse.
Okay, perfect. I'm seeing something related to final. So if you press final for the end of the day and want to get back to the register, can you? Or once you press final, is that it for the day? Is that something that Steve or Justin, you can answer?
If you run the end of day, then it's final. If you run a cashier's checkout and it's a final, if they need to sign back in and start a new shift or something, you can. It will just start a second shift. So once the final is ran, yes, you can use the system again, but you would have to create a second shift for that employee.
Hopefully that answers your question there. Actually, I remember my other question. This was actually more for you, Steve. We were talking about the error messages when you're trying to run end of day. If you need that default time change, the example that we shared was that it was at 4 p.m. Is that something that we're able to do or they can do on their end?
You would have to request support to do it. We would handle that. That's it.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, great. Well, I don't see very many questions coming in, but I'm sure we will have some after the webinar. What I'd like to encourage the attendees to do is with this webinar, we went through some of the features pretty high level. If anyone on your team, especially your cashiers and or your managers are able to benefit from this, please share this webinar recording with them. And then if there are additional questions in terms of the features and functions, a little deeper dive that they'd like, feel free to reach out to our team and we're happy to work with you on any support or help. So with that said, I appreciate everyone's time and I hope that you are able to join us for next month's webinar as well. Please send your feedback so that way we know what to put on for you. Today was a bit of a shorter webinar, but I'm sure everyone appreciates having some time back. So with that said, thank you so much, Steve and Justin, for joining and everyone for spending some time with us today.